Both men and women who follow a vegetarian diet face a 50% greater risk of a hip fracture compared to people who regularly eat meat, according to the results of a large-scale study. It has been recognized that women who are vegetarian have an elevated risk of hip fracture, but the reasons why are unclear, and studies looking at the impact of a vegetarian diet on men have been small-scale and inconclusive. Researchers at the University of Leeds have analyzed the data on 413,914 people, both men and women, and it gives the first indication that vegetarian men also face a greater risk of hip fracture than men who regularly eat meat. It also identifies some of the factors that may be putting vegetarians, both male and female, at increased risk. Recruited between 2006 and 2010, the individuals in the study, all part of the UK Biobank project, provided information on their diet and were classed as either a regular meat eater who ate meat 5 or more times a week, an occasional meat eater consuming meat fewer than 5 times a week, pescatarian where they ate fish but not meat, or vegetarian where they could consume dairy foods but not fish or meat. The data on the individuals was linked to their hospital records, and cases of hip fracture were recorded in the follow-up period to 2021. The research paper is published in the academic journal BMC Medicine. Among the 413,914 participants, there were 3,503 cases of hip fracture, and overall incidence rate of less than 1%, 0.8%. Although the overall risk of having a hip fracture was low, the relative risk between vegetarians and regular meat eaters was large. The researchers found that vegetarians had a 50% greater risk than regular meat eaters, regardless of sex, and there was no difference in risk between occasional and regular meat eaters. Pescatarians had a slightly greater risk, 8%, than regular meat eaters, but this was a non-significant difference. The scientists calculated how these relative differences may translate to real-world cases. They predicted on average 6.5 regular meat eaters and 6.5 occasional meat eaters would experience a hip fracture, whilst there would be 7 cases among pescatarians and 9.5 cases among vegetarians. This study shows that whilst vegetarians face a greater risk of hip fracture than meat eaters at 50%, this translates to just 3 more hip fractures per 1,000 people over 10 years. The health benefits of a vegetarian diet, including a lower risk of cancer and cardiovascular disease, may still outweigh any increases in hip fracture risk. The analysis suggests that low BMI may be a key factor in why the risk is higher. Additionally, vegetarians were about 17% less likely to meet protein recommendations than meat eaters. So, important messages from this study are that vegetarians need to ensure they are getting a balanced diet with enough protein and maintain a healthy BMI. This will help vegetarians to maintain healthy bones and muscles.